Okay, everyone. So hopefully now you've opened up and set up Visual Studio Code. Now, Visual Studio Code is a programming application, which technically means you can write any kind of code. That could be HTML, CSS, which we'll talk about. There's other languages, JavaScript, PHP, which we're not going to talk about in this class, but if you were in a computer science class, you might write and you might use Visual Studio Code to write. Now we're going to be working with Hypertext Markup Language, or HTML. HTML is what we refer to as a structuring language. We'll get into what that means in a little bit, but essentially it's going to take a document and structure or set up a hierarchy for the data. Okay. Just a kind of quick background for HTML. So HTML was written by a British computer scientist. His name was, or now it's, at the time it wasn't, but now it's Sir Timothy Berners-Lee. He created the proposal for HTML, or World Wide Web page, in 1989. It got implemented. He also sits on the World Wide Web Consortium, or the W3C. We created it in 1994 at MIT, or the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So let's talk about how to create an HTML document using Visual Studio Code. So if you see a document like this, you can go to New File, or if you have something that looks more like this, you can just go to File. This is within Visual Studio Code. File, new text file. And that's going to make a brand new tab here. Okay, I'm just going to blow this up a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. And now what I'm just going to do is type something in. I'm going to type in the phrase hello world. I'm going to put like 3 exclamation points because I'm super excited about teaching you guys HTML. And believe it or not, that's it. This is my document, and I've created a document. I want to save it as an HTML document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Save, or Command or Control S on your keyboard. And I'm going to get something that looks roughly like this. If you have Windows, it might look a little different, but the concept is the same. So the first is, what do you want to name your file? Now this is something that's very important, okay? Now normally when you're in programs like, say, Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or even something like Photoshop, when you save a document, there's sort of a default format. Like, you know, Microsoft Word's default format is the docx, or, you know, Photoshop's default document is the .psd. For coding programs, there is no default documents type. So instead, we actually have to declare it when we name our file. So you can name your file anything you want. I'm going to name my file Hello World. But what's important here is I have to add an extension. The extension is dot, and then in this case, HTML. Okay, so that .html extension is actually really important. What that's going to do is when the browser is going to load in the file that I've created here, that .html extension tells the browser what type of file it is. Because when we load a file into a browser, it doesn't necessarily know if it's a text document or an image like a JPEG, or maybe it's a sound file like a .mp3 or something. So when the browser loads this in, it's going to go, oh, this is a web page. I should treat it like a web page. So that's why this .html portion here is really important. Okay. The other important part here is where we're saving the file. So you could just save it to your desktop. I'm going to save it within the same folder just to keep everything together. And I'm going to hit this blue button that says Save. Okay, and that's pretty much it. You'll see once you save, it should say, you know, the name of your file right here on the tab. Because I saved it into this folder that I already was loaded into Visual Studio Code, you can see it was added to my folder here. So now that I've created this HTML file, what I want to do is preview it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this HTML file and we're going to load it into a browser. So remember, half of the job of a browser is to load and parse web information. So this is the web information I was talking about. This is the page. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go to a browser. You can literally use any browser. I'm just going to use Chrome in this case. So here's Chrome. And what I'm going to do is I want to load that file we just created, my Hello World file, into this browser. Okay. How you do it kind of depends on the browser. In this case, I'm using Chrome on a Mac, so it's over here under File, Open, File. If you're on Windows, it may be over here. So either, it depends on your setup of your browser. Every browser should have a way to load a file into it, though. So what I'm going to do is go to File, Open File. This allows me to load a file into my browser. So you got to think of it like this. This HTML file, it stores web information, but the only way to see the web information is to play it through the browser. Think of it kind of like a record and a record player. A record, if you've ever seen a record, it stores musical information in it, right? But the record by itself doesn't do anything. You have to put it on a record player. The record player has the ability to play back the sound. Or you can think of it like a DVD and a DVD player. The DVD holds the movie information, but without the DVD player, you can't really access it, right? So we're storing web information in this file, in this case, this hello world.html file, but the only way to access it or to see it is to play it through the browser. Okay, so that's what I'm doing by loading this file into Chrome in this case. All right, so there's my file. I'm just blowing it up so you guys can see it a little better. This is what my web page would look like. If I want to make changes to this web page, I don't edit it through Chrome. Instead, I have to go back to my code editor, in this case, Visual Studio Code, and I'll make some updates. So, hello world. There's a song that I'm singing. Come on, get happy. Okay. So you can tell that I've made changes to my document that haven't been saved. The way you can tell in Visual Studio Code, you see that little circle there? That circle means I haven't saved. I've made changes, but I haven't saved them. So I'm just going to go to File, Save, or Command or Control S is the keyboard shortcut. And then now what I can do is if I go back, I'm going to go and press Reload. And there you go. I also could have just literally reopened the file too. That also would have worked. And you can see that my page automatically updates. Okay. Now in this case, I was using Chrome. It doesn't matter what browser you use. Just to show you, I'm going to use Firefox. Okay. And this is Firefox. So this is a different browser, but it's going to work similarly to the way that Chrome works, in that it's going to load in the web information and it's going to parse it or display it. So what I'm going to do is go to File, Open File, or Command or Control O in this case. Let's find that file. Hello world. Okay, so you can see that worked. And this would work for any browser. Any browser you can think of, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Edge, Opera, Brave, whatever you want to do, they all have some way that you can open the HTML file within the browser. Okay. There's another way we can kind of quickly do this. So if you remember, I asked you guys to install a little extension called Preview in Browser. Or sorry, was it Preview? I think it was Load in Browser. Can't remember. Whichever one it was, check the last video. But anyway, once you've done that and you've restarted the program, if I wanted a quick way to load this program or load this into a browser without having to open the browser and go to File, Open, I could just literally right-click and there'll be an option that says Open in Default Browser. And then there you go. And it opened automatically into Chrome for me. If you want to open up a different browser, first of all, you have to have the browser installed on your computer first. But I could go to Open in Other Browsers, and then this would actually choose from all the various browsers that I have installed on my computer. So I have Chrome, Firefox, Opera, and Safari installed on this computer that I'm working on. So if I wanted to choose, I don't know, Firefox, I could click that, and then it should open up. It's actually opening up there. and it opened up the file here for me. Okay. So what I'd like you guys to do is try this out. I want you guys to, in your code program, create a new file, save it with a .html extension, write whatever you want to write. You can write a little hello world file. That's pretty standard for most, computer science programs or courses to write a hello world file to begin with, and then load it into a browser.